This talk is by a teen, for other teens who are in school and have no idea how to show their feelings. People who are shy, anxious or socially challenged, but mostly who usually suppress their stress. This is about how art can help you let all of that go. It did for me, so it can for you. First of all, what is art? According to Google, the definition of art is expression or application of human creative skills. This means that art can be expressed through painting, sketching, sculpturing, music, dance, writing, singing, poetry, and the list goes on, to include any 2- or 3-dimensional representation of human creativity. It should be noted that stress isn't the only reason to work on art projects. Feeling bored, excited, curious, or even sad can inspire you to get creative. Personally, one of the reasons I use art is a method of alleviating boredom and rediscovering my motivation. I had a block for about a year a while back, where I had lost the will to produce anything creative, and the only reason I got into it again was because I was inspired by someone else's art. That inspiration was enough for me to say, wow, that is amazing. I really want to be able to do that. It gave me an itch to want to start learning that thing now. Another reason my art is so important to me is that it keeps me focused in class. When I am in school and I start to get distracted by my own mind, instead of concentrating on the lesson, I doodle wherever there is an open space in my books. It probably drives my teachers crazy, but they let me do it because they know that allowing me to sketch while I listen really does help me concentrate. And then there is stress. Studies show that teens of today are exposed to far more stimulation than any generations before us. We are bombarded by a level of stimulation that can overwhelm us and result in anxiety, social, or attention disorders. This is made worse by the less connected social relationships we find despite more social media, resulting in the feeling of isolation. Personal problems like family dynamics, the dramas with friends, and sometimes even strangers, trauma, and the social and academic challenges we face at school can all contribute to this overwhelming feeling of stress. What can happen to teenagers who suffer from pent-up stress? Information gathered from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group talks about the most extreme action teens sometimes resort to when they can't cope with their stress. They tell us that in South Africa, 9% of all teen deaths are due to suicide, and this figure is on the increase. In the 15 to 24 age group, suicide is the second leading and fastest growing cause of death. Children as young as 7 have committed suicide in South Africa. Every day, 22 people take their own lives. Recently, I noticed how the stress of the coronavirus pandemic has affected art around the world. There has been a surge of pandemic-inspired street art, which tells us that a great number of people are using art in a public forum to express their fears, feelings, and even humor about the virus. In April 2020, Smithsonian Magazine published an article dedicated to the COVID-19 street art that is greeting people as the world eases its lockdowns. Personally, and surprisingly, I noticed how little art I was doing now that my lessons are all online. When I was asked how the pandemic is affecting me, I realized how little after school or free time I was using for creative stress relief, when I assumed that the opposite would have been the case. Human beings are not designed to be isolated. We might have the introverts and the extroverts, but humans still need to see other human beings and interact with them to be healthy. This highlights the mental toll that the isolation we are all enduring is having on people, and brings up the question, does large-scale stress suppress creative skill? It is too early to answer this question with regards to COVID-19, but it is a scary thought worth investigating once this is all over and we can truly measure the full effects of the virus. After this was pointed out to me, I nudged myself to start doing more creative things when I can. It was a great feeling to go back to doodling in classes after being completely unaware I had stopped due to the stressful changes happening around me. What makes your creative juices flow and gets you inspired? If you do not know, look for it. It could be any of the aforementioned examples of art that I listed in the beginning. The important thing is that any form of artistic hobby is a great method of stress relief. Art opens your eyes to the world. You notice things that are out of place. Someone once said, artists and snipers have two things in common. They both pay attention to detail, and they can catch nuances less creative people cannot. The reason I got into art in the first place is because someone inspired me. I never thought, however, that so soon in my life I would get to be on the receiving end of such an achievement. Not too long ago, someone in my school, a younger student, told me that my art had inspired him. He wanted to learn to do what I was doing. I was speechless. Work done by my own hands caused someone to aspire to do something themselves. It felt like an achievement, but no, it was an achievement that arrived way sooner than I expected. I've met new people through art, inspired people. I get the greatest feeling from someone saying, wow, that looks so good when they see my art. My challenge to you now is to get creative. Don't be afraid of not being good enough. Art is not about judgment. It is about expressing your feelings, your stresses, your pain, and your joy. It is about therapy and mental health and taking care of yourself. It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is how it makes you feel. Thank you.